addiction and shit. And I thought, oh man, I want to find that. That's what I need. Because I always, from the very beginning of remembering anything about me, didn't like who I was. I always wanted to be somebody different. My parents left when I was in my first year of life. My father stayed around basically, like in and out. I was raised by my grandparents, for which I'm forever grateful. And they, I never understood. I don't know that I consciously thought, why did my parents leave me? Because I didn't even know what it was like to have parents, But I always felt like something was wrong with me, something was different about me, and I'd make up these stories at school about, when people want to know, why you with your grandparents? I'd say, my mother is Native American on the reservation, and my dad, they broke up, and my dad wanted to bring me out to live in the white man's world. And, I had to have a story to explain why I was not like you and why I did not feel like you. And so that day when I heard about drugs, and then in school they used to have videos about them, I thought, well, if I ever come across those, I want to do it. It didn't really do any good to raid my family's, my grandparents' medicine cabinet, because they didn't have anything probably but laxatives, and that wasn't going to be good. Didn't do that. From the very first time I ever did get a hold of something, I think I was slipped something in school, because I remember one day going home from school and just getting all caught up and going around this bush with a stick and knocking all the flowers off, which is not like, and my grandmother drove up just as the last flowers hitting the ground, me still having the stick in my hand, so I got a whipping for that. And I remember seeing the trails on the switch, but as soon as I could find them, I found them, and I went through the gambit of trying different things until I could find the one, and I found the one when I was 16. I hit the streets, and prior to that, like, I have always, my grandparents again were very, very, very religious. Did I say very? Everything was a sin, so I figured I'm already going to hell, so might as well make it a good run. And I went to, when I got out, these people, I wouldn't kneel. Like, I would hold when we would kneel around the kitchen table in the morning and pray, I'd lift my knees off the floor. And I'm like, I ain't kneeling to you, God. And later on, I was on my knees a lot. Had a new God. It's called drugs. And I could get on my knees to pray. I could get on my knees to look for a rock. I could get on my knees because you told me, bitch, you better get on your knees if you want some of this. So today, thankfully, I get on my knees to a God that wants to show me love and kindness and not, humiliation or dehumanization. Every time I read this text, which I'm no longer that much of a reader. I used to love reading fantasy because that was probably my first drug of choice. But every time I read this text, I'm just hit with how profound it is and how it had to be, divinely orchestrated. Because it was a bunch of dope fiends, and I actually know a few of them that got together and wrote this thing. And the way they did about it, and they were all newcomers. It's like, and the outcome is a book that is a guide to life that can teach us anything we need to know, but most of all, how to stay clean. So it talks about, however, we do have a choice after we stop trying to justify our using. One of my favorite lines in this book is, we didn't stumble into this fellowship brimming with love, honesty, open-mindedness, or willingness. So we became willing once we were beaten, beat up from the street up, and then some. And so the thing is, I didn't get here with any of this stuff. I wouldn't even want to sit by me today, who I was when I got here. I was the antithesis of whatever I was taught to be, you know, because I did have the good fortune of having people around that love me and teach me values. And I was also the antithesis, I am today of what, you know, I was the antithesis of what I am today. I probably ought to stop looking at the book because it keeps getting me, I keep getting, you know, oh yeah, that thought, and as a result, there's a bunch of whole scrambled up thoughts. But honesty is the first principle of step one, and then so I went around being honest, you know, about I'm an addict, you know, and it's like, that's what I am. I used to pray on the way to Dope Trap every now and then when I try to stop and say, God, you made me this way, so could you please help me not get flexed or get arrested before I get it in my arm. I really didn't care that much if I got arrested. I just didn't want to get arrested without being high. Back then you could smoke cigarettes in jail, and it seemed like I always got busted when I had no cigarettes, you know. But anyways, that's part of getting beat up. So the day came when, first of all, I started coming into this fellowship in 1978. I don't have that many years clean for real. But it did mess up my using. I was 18 years old. I went to treatment, you know, and I was full of, well, first of all, I thought, oh, I am too young. I am not ready to give up having a good time, because I thought that getting clean was going to mean I was basically sacrificing myself for a life of boredom and misery. You know, little did I know, you know, like y'all were just not experiencing life, and I had to wait a little while before I was willing to go for all that. But even in spite of the fact that I just visited meetings every now and then and went to treatment every now and then so I could dry out and, you know, usually run into a few friends and have a little old home week experience before I could get up and go do it again, there was something that penetrated this hard head during that process of going in and out of treatment, in and out of treatment, in and out of jail. And one day I became willing not only to admit that I'm powerless, but to admit that maybe y'all had a better idea than I had. And to admit that maybe I was willing to accept, because that was the big key for me, is to accept that the solution is I can't use anything. Because I tried them all. You know, and I did a lot of them I didn't even like, just to see if I could use that. But, you know, the last one was I wanted to smoke pot, because I never smoked. I hated pot. So it's like, why can't I smoke pot in recovery? That's not a problem. I hate it. And somebody goes, did you just hear what you said? So I accepted the fact that I needed to stop using. And you know, but ever since then, there's been a battle of wills all the way. I accepted the fact that I wanted to stop using and that I needed to stay stopped, and that's when I started making efforts to do that. I became a member of this fellowship for real, like, you know, and I quit using in between meetings. And I spent like 7 years in this fellowship before I relapsed. Because even though I had embraced not using, one of the things that held me back was becoming a productive member of society. I'm like, who the fuck wants to be a productive member of society? I don't like society. And someone said, well, you can be a productive member of NA society, and I thought that was acceptable, and it is acceptable at first, but eventually I have to become a productive member of society as a whole. If I'm practicing principles, then I can do that. And so, but not being willing to do that, which is one of the principles we're talking about this morning, not being willing to become a productive member of society, ended up helped end me up in relapse. And also not being willing, I was willing to give up using, but I wasn't willing to give up, you know, being in charge of my own life in the sense that, well, I want to, so I'm going to. I prayed I'd not use, but it didn't occur to me to pray whether or not I should spend this money on that when I was really trying to save up for this and put God actually in charge in my whole life. So, you know, eventually that I went to Burger King recovery, you know, I had it my way. And eventually, and I mean, you know, there was a whole lot of insane shit that came with my life in recovery, you know, because I take my will back, you know. when I was working the steps in step 2, you know, they say restore you to sanity. Well, at first time I was like, well, how am I going to be restored to something I never had? You know. Then someone explained to me, though, that that obsession is insanity, and I was able to comprehend that, because when I was obsessed to use, it felt like, the best way I could describe it is it felt like a concrete helmet on my head that would not let any other thought come in except for I want to get high, 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 until I went and got high. And to be relieved of that obsession, if that's all I got out of this thing, oh my God, that would be worth the price of admission. You know, just not to have to wake up every day going, being sick and going, where am I going to get some? That's so, but you get so much more. You know, if you keep walking this thing, you get so much more. Being restored to sanity. I mean, like I said, I didn't want to be a part of society. I didn't want to do anything that society dictated I needed to do. I didn't want to get a job and pay Uncle Sam. You know, I'm looking at the retirement age pretty soon, and I'm going to pay the consequences for not paying Uncle Sam or Social Security or any of that stuff. I got like $120 in Social Security. You know, I got a piece of paper not long ago. Yeah, I got $120. I put it in Social Security, because even the job I've had since I've been in recovery, they got a 401k. They don't do Social Security. So if it would have been that way in the last 15 years, that would have improved. But that's another matter. So, you know, one of the beautiful gifts of this program, too, is that it says we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Well, I was very rebellious against the idea of a power greater than myself. I could only picture one. And that was the one that my relatives had taught me to believe in. And I felt like, well, he's put me in hell, so why I want to, you know, he ain't going to restore me to sanity. And so, you know, I was told, well, what kind of higher power would you have? You got to have one bigger than dope. And that's all, bigger than dope to start with. You know, things change, but to start with, I knew it was the ocean. You know, because I heard, I'm not very scientific, but I heard that it was 70% of the planet, and therefore it would have to be powerful enough to take all the potency out of the drugs. So it was a power bigger than dope. And I felt a lot of serenity when I was in it. So that helped and worked for a long time. And the sanity came when one day I got $1,300 to go get a computer, and I got the computer and I plugged it in before I realized I had $1,300 in my pocket I could have copped. You know? And then I realized, but I didn't. And it was like, you know, wow, that was huge. You know, I mean, that's a restoration to sanity, but there's so much more. If you just, you know, when I keep working the steps and reading this book, like I don't read this book often enough. I should, like, because like today, you know, I read the steps again because I'm going to get up here and I want to carry a message of Narcotics Anonymous. I want to carry a message of what the topic that I'm supposed to be on, not serve my own purposes and you know, share my story or glorify, you know, whatever. It's about what saved my life, and that's the principles of honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, and that's the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. And that's what restored me from the insanity of choosing to use drugs over my children, over my freedom, my right to drive, having a home, you know. Well, I ain't paying the establishment. That's why I'm homeless. What the fuck? I'm homeless because I choose to do dope instead of pay somebody rent. Unless it's the Shady Roach Hotel where you can use the sink down the hall because you're not paying enough money to get your own sink. Then, you know, I made a decision to turn my will and my life over to care of God. Well, for a long time, I'm like, probably a lot of brain damage, you know, and it takes me a whole long time to get these certain, you know, concepts, you know, and I'd be like, will in my life, what the hell does that actually mean? And I was in a step study one time with somebody, and they said, your thoughts and your behaviors. I was like, boom! I don't know why, maybe I heard that before, but that day I heard that, you know, but it's like, okay, well, my thoughts and my behaviors were always focused on drugs, And I don't want that anymore because I got to leave the obsession. So I need to turn my thoughts and my behaviors over to the care of the higher power greater than drugs, the fellowship of this program, being a productive member of society, And so that made it where, oh yeah, I want to do that. So the decision comes with the action. The action is, okay, I turn my will and my life. Let's see, I'm thinking about F this. I just want to give up. It's not necessarily using today, although that thought does cross my mind sometimes, but it might be, hell with it, I'm just going to go have a milkshake, or it might be, I'm going to go shopping. I don't care if my goal is to move, I'm just going to go shopping. Whatever it is. So redirecting my thoughts, thinking it through, playing the tape. Okay, is that going to get me my goal? Setting goals. I had one goal for 12 years, and that was to get high. And then even for years in recovery, it was still to feel good. Whatever it was, I still wanted to feel good. I don't like to feel anything but good. I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about. I read something one time that said, beware of comfort. And that too hit me at the time it was supposed to hit me, because it's that's my thing. I want to be comfortable, and it's oh, well, when you get comfortable, you get complacent. Complacent means self-satisfied and unaware of danger. So I got to beware when I feel too comfortable, because then I let my guard down to the things that could harm me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just totally lose my thought. I got so many of them going on up here. They ricochet. That empty space. So beware of comfort. So now, today, it's when something is, okay, for one thing, if I'm supposed, let's say somebody says, I think you ought to go to this convention over here and, do blah, 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 or be in service. I'm oh no, oh God, I got this, I got that, and I don't want to do it. Whenever I feel my entire being going, no, then it's probably something I need to take a look at. That may be what I'm supposed to do. Because left to my own devices, I'm going to be lazy and, not participatory. Isolate, pet my dog. I don't want to do life, just pet my dog. So it's a good barometer, though. It kind of sucks. And I'm looking forward to the day when I actually want to do all those things. But in the meanwhile, I can go, I don't want to do that. I probably should do that then. Maybe I shouldn't depend on going up here for answers, and I ought to include somebody else, because it helps a lot. And then, talk to somebody else yeah, you ought to do that. Oh, okay, I'll do it, but I don't want to. I literally hardly do anything I want to. But I'm always grateful that I got there and I showed up for whatever reason. It's okay with me today to go do what I don't want to do, because that's what I'm supposed to do. Because I know the outcome is I get to stay clean today. And I know when I was doing what I didn't want to do for drugs, those were really gross things to have to do. And usually the consequences were heinous. If I got to ever feel the high, it was always going to be heinous somewhere in there, And so today, I do, people go, I don't want to do that. And I'm I didn't want to come to work today either, buddy. But we all know, you got to do what you got to do. And so it's like that in recovery. I turn my will and my life, my thoughts and my behaviors over to the care of God. And I don't have to use as a result of that. And I just can't express enough my gratitude towards this fellowship and our predecessors for laying out this path for us, because it truly offers a change in life. And when there's a couple things I wrote down that I want to look at, just so I make sure that later I don't go, God, I forgot to say that, because I definitely will. Oh yeah, some of the things I don't like doing. If a newcomer is oh, go get those phone numbers from those people. And I was like, oh, I don't want to get phone numbers. Well, if they had dope in their pocket and all I told you was you need to go get the phone number, would you get the phone number? Well, hell yeah. Go get the phone number. The other thing, when I had a problem with small talk. You know, I had a couple questions for you. Do you have any dope? Do you have a rig? Can I use your bathroom? Other than that, I didn't really need to conversate with you about much of anything, you know. And when I first got here, I'm like, you know, my supposed to like small talk. I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to small talk about? The weather? Maybe. You know, I might need to talk. What I learned is I got to talk to people about the little things before we can ever get to the big things.
That's right.
You know, a lot of times people will say, oh, and I would say too, until I got a sponsor say, call me every day. And that was before cell phones. Like, I got to use a quarter every day to call you when I don't have nothing to say. She says, you don't have to say anything. Just dial the number. And so I was, okay. Because I really didn't want to use. So I'd call her and I'd say, you told me to call you. And she said, well, thank you for calling. All right. You know, and then later, you know, it progressed to you're welcome. And then it progressed to thank you for answering the phone. And then that day came where I wanted to drive my car through the mechanic's freaking window because of some bitch I felt was robbing me. So I was like, I'm gonna just drive my car through his window, and then go get high, you know. And something occurred to me: maybe you ought to call Cherie before you do that. And I did, and she was able to talk me out of it. But if I hadn't called her all those other times, I wouldn't have called then. So it's very important to lay that foundation out, you know. So that. Thanks for bearing with me. This is something like this. Here's something. This right here. These notes. This is something that used to be like totally. I don't want to get up there without notes because I want to look profound. I don't want y'all to know that I'm shot out. Some of those other, you know, behaviors of the people, places, and things, you know, I got to replace those behaviors. You know, like for a long time, I would just not do that, and then, like like today's issue is food, and this ain't about food, but it's about like how I can, you know, still relate my addiction to it. You know, it's like, okay, so I'm not going to eat this brownie for dessert, but I got to put something there, or I'm going to feel deprived. And eventually, I'm going to eat the whole damn pan of brownies. So it's the same thing, you know. It's like, okay, so I miss my friends. None of them bring me no shit in jail. They were my friends. I missed them. You know, one time I went to Hawaii and came back and brought them all T-shirts. And I was actually clean the time I was in Hawaii, and then I came back and I brought them all T-shirts. And then I got high. I wonder why. And then you know, I went back to Hawaii and lived for 14 years out of 17 years, and you know, I learned you don't go back to, you know, I hear people go, oh, I was the dope man, don't I need to make amends to him? I think that may have been one of mine too, you know. No, not unless he's living next door to you and he's got a gun. You don't need to make, you know, you don't need to make amends to him because that just leaves the door open to go back, you know. So and so anyways, I had gotten in a car accident and I got a head injury, and when I was sitting at the traffic light, I was praying, turning my will and my life over to the care of God. So the thing is, when the truck hit me head on, and I was like going, wow, I don't have any blood or anything, airbags and being a huge fan, but I had like my brain hit the front of my skull or something, and I was very, very confused. And you know, I kept going back to when I wanted to be victimized and all that crap. I had to go back to being grateful because I know people that have been completely maimed in car accidents and they got up and did it again. And then, you know, it's like I wanted some money out of the deal, you know. I had plenty of opportunities to sue in my past and never did because I didn't think it was right. And now I'm thinking, this is an opportunity. I should get something, you know. I had to sign off because I didn't need those kind of thoughts going through my head. I had to realize God's in charge of my life.
Yes.
And so anyways, what I learned though is that, you know, some of the things I'd been praying for to get out of my own way got out of my way that day. You know, sometimes resentments would hold me back. I can't resent you if I can't remember why I was mad at you. Boom. You know, it helped a lot. I can't tell your secrets when I can't remember what they were. You know, it helped a lot. So, but one of the, you know, other things is I need to write shit down. So here I am. I think we're almost done here. So I just wanted to say disease is action, and I, you know, heard surrender is a change to the winning side. And when I read this morning again, you know, it talks about surrender a lot in this text, you know. And a lot of times, you know I used to not want to surrender anything. And last little story, when I first got clean, I went to we always went to the movies on Friday night after the meeting, and I would always out fumble somebody so they'd pay for it. And so this time this guy did. He paid for it. We were in the popcorn line, and they had some old school pinball machines, you know, over here. And all of a sudden I heard, whoa, 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 and I saw the siren shadow on the popcorn wall, and I heard the police radio, and I threw my hands up. Like I totally forgot where I was. I just threw my hands up, and the guy goes, you can put your arms down. And, you know, we're in the theater. They're not after you today. The surrender is, you know, like my side was losing. My side being, you know, using, had me doing dope. My nose was always running. I was always like sick. And y'all's side was I get to have my dignity. Mm-hmm. I get to be self-respecting. Not only to respect myself, I get to learn how to respect you. Because I used to have one form of communication. Yeah? Fuck you. And you know, and now today that is not like what I want to say to most people. And the ones that I do want to say it to, 99 out of 100 I refrain. You know, and they're usually in traffic. Those are 100. That's traffic. I don't know them. They can't hear me anyway. But so it's a winning side here. I'm not weak. It takes a lot of courage to say, okay, I was playing on the wrong team. I want to come over to your team. That takes courage. So, you know, whenever we have issues about surrendering, that's a way. And then the last thing it said in step 3, or the last thing I read, is the proof of this step is shown in the way we live. And if I'm practicing the principles of honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, and all the other principles that this program has to offer, it's going to show in my behaviors. It's going to mean I'm not out in the lobby telling you, hey, fuck you. You know, it probably should mean I'm not even using that language when I'm sharing at a meeting, but damn. There's some words that just don't freaking cover it. You know? It's like freaking. I mean, you know, just, or fudge. It doesn't work. I have a hard time, you know. There's a few words that are no longer in my vocabulary, but that one's a hard one to go, that old F word. So, you know, I get to live differently today, and that means I get to do a lot of things I don't want to do, and I get to change things. But I'm forever grateful, and thank you for letting me share.
Perfect. Wow, awesome. Okay, and next we have Rasul.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rasul. I'm a very grateful recovering addict. Let's give Diana a great big hand. Awesome. I really enjoyed your sharing. Thank you very, very much. And, I First of all, I want to thank Almighty God for the blessing of life and being clean today and in my right mind. I don't have to be there. I want to thank GRCNA committee for asking me to come and share my experience, strength, and hope because, it's going to help me. And I want to thank the group, everybody that's here, for taking time out of their busy day to come to work on this workshop. Before I get started, I'm going to ask you, it's no imposition, just give the person next to you a great big hug. Let them know that you're glad that they're here.
Oh, wait. I'm part of the group too,
Thank you. Thank you for hugging somebody.
That's right.
And did you get a hug?
I did.
Okay.
You need a hug?
I need one. I need a hug too.
That's right.
A lot of times I come to these meetings, I've been coming around a few 24 hours. And a lot of times I just come to get that hug, man. I need that love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I'm just real grateful to be here. And I call it a step study, step 1, 2, and 3. I believe in the steps. And when I first came around, I got a sponsor who believed in the steps. And I told him, I said, he said, we're going to do some work. I said, I already read the book. And little did I know, I might have read it, but I didn't get what I needed to get out of it. And, the person that was speaking last night, Rodney, talking about the Step of the Month Club. Well, my sponsor really didn't let me get in that Step of the Month Club.
That's right.
I learned, first thing I had to do is get a sponsor. See, because the sponsor for me was the person that helped guide me through the steps. And it's the steps that's where my recovery lies at. So it's a matter of perspective, I think. He believed that the steps was the answer to the answer. And the steps ultimately going to lead me to a better understanding of my higher power. And he said it was just like my perspective. And he told me the story about these guys was out on the construction site building something. And he went over to the guy, he was laying these bricks. He said, what are you doing? He said, well, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm laying bricks. So then he went to the next guy, and he said, well, what are you doing? He said, well, what do you mean what I'm doing? I'm building a wall. It was obvious. Working the steps. Then he went to the other guy, and he said, well, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm laying a cornerstone for a great building, great community. So it's just a matter of perspective. I could run through these steps pretty quickly and I'll be laying some bricks. I can take some time and I can build a wall. But if I take the perspective that I'm building a foundation for my recovery and the rest of my life, I'm going to get a little bit more out of it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I guess I'm nervous while I'm standing up. Ain't nothing wrong. But I'm going to sit down because I need to look. But it's what you put in is what you're going to get out. Is what I'm trying to say. And after I got my sponsor, then we went to work. I was about a year clean on step 1. We admitted that we were powerless over our addiction and that our lives had become unmanageable. And after a year clean, let me tell you this. I didn't come here expecting to stay clean. I was recommended here by high power. And I figured after I got 1 year clean, I'm going to get high. That was my philosophy at that time. And so I never will forget my perspective changed. I came to the meetings, sit in the back. I ain't want nobody to see me because I had to come. Then later on, I started enjoying the come. Made some friends and stuff. Then finally, you know, I was a part of instead of apart from. So the program became a part of me. So he talked about we admitted. Now the first part of that step, the first word was we. I got great relief from that. See, I'm not in here alone.
That's right.
We can do it, but I can't do it by myself. And admit it was something I never really wanted to do. The judge asked me, "How do you plead?" "Not guilty, Your Honor." I didn't admit nothing. My wife used to say, "You've been using it again?" "Oh no, I'm high." No. So admitting was a process for me. And y'all made me do it with my mouth first. Because we used to, at the meeting, we had to go around the circle. "I'm Rasul, I'm an addict. I'm so-and-so, I'm so-and-so." We had to admit that with our mouth, even though maybe inside I didn't get it yet. So I had to admit. And eventually that admission helped me to understand, because it was that same wife, maybe about the first 30 days, I wanted to come back home. I was, how you say? I was put out. To kick my ass out. Police said I couldn't go back. So I'm ready after 30 days to try to get back. Yeah. She picked up the phone. She said, "No, you addict." And I know that don't sound like much, but it was earth-shattering to me. And that was the beginning of my acceptance of the fact that, you know what, it just might be the drugs. Just might be drugs. Just might be the drugs. So, you know, I went and got into this Narcotics Anonymous process of recovery. And I learned about being powerless. That's a hell of a concept. I thought I had the power. But I had to realize from you people and from coming around here that I just did not have the juice. I didn't have it. I didn't have the power over my addiction. And, you know, I had spent the New Year's with my daughter. She turned 21. I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her. I was excited about we were going to have some bonding time and this and that. And what I had to teach her, you know, we don't live together. She lives in one state, I live in another. Doctor, about 2 days before she's coming down, she said, "Can I bring a friend?" Well, I thought it was one of the college girls. That she wanted to, you know, shit. She got a boyfriend. She had a boyfriend. And, you know, y'all taught me in here. I mean, I know she's 21 and, you know, she's growing and thank God she got a boyfriend and, you know. But I had to understand powerless there. Because when we came into the place, I said, "Okay, you sleep over here, and you're going to sleep upstairs. And I'm going to sleep in the middle." But y'all taught me, man, what I need to do. My thinking is is not always, you know, I'm not how you going to say it? I'm not a dingbat, okay? I'm over 60 years old. I've been around the block a few times. I know what time it is. Okay. But sometimes my perspective gets off. She's 21. That don't mean she... How you want to say that? That don't mean she ready for anything goes. And I ain't ready for anything goes. But I had to accept the fact that she loved this guy and, you know, they going to do some things. and I'm powerless over that. Powerless. But if I didn't have you people to teach me about powerlessness and these steps, doctor, he might have got hurt, or I might have got hurt. Powerlessness. That's an example of powerlessness. I'm powerless over my addiction. I'm powerless over people. You know, people gonna do what they gonna do. I can only do or say my part, keep my side of the street clean.
That's right.
And allow a higher power to do some work there. So I had to admit that power. And I know what was going on. You know, I've been around the block a few times. I didn't like it. Didn't say I had to like it. And I can't do nothing about it, though. That's the issue. I'm powerless. Powerless over people, places, things. I'm powerless over situations in my life. When I first got here, I had fucked up so much in my life. I wanted to, you know how you come in here, you want to straighten everything out? I'm powerless. Can't do it over situations. I'm even powerless today on how I feel about some shit. I'm powerless over my emotions. Like I was telling you about my daughter. I didn't feel good about that shit. You know, but I didn't act out. I called my sponsor. I went to a meeting. The meeting, NA meeting, they was cracking up. Cause they knew, they got kids too. They know what time it is. It was just a first experience for me. And so I'm powerless over that. And my life had become unmanageable. Now, that's a hard concept because I thought I had power. But when I looked at how I had lost my marriage, I had lost my wife, I had lost my vehicles, I had lost my freedom. So my life was pretty, and I almost lost my health. So I learned that unmanageable means, for those of you who don't know, fucked up. If your life is fucked up, if you're a newcomer in here, you might have the same disease I got. You might. And it talks about in that first step that the staying clean must come first. It must come first. When I first came around, I didn't know about no steps. I knew go to a meeting and don't use. Go to a meeting and don't use. If I don't use, I got a chance. See, if I don't use over my daughter's situation, I got a chance for our relationship to get where it should be as she grows up. Because parenting don't end when they get 18. It don't never end. It don't never end. But I have to mature and learn how to apply a little pressure here, apply a little listening here, do a little something here, make an example there, and then pray that she'll get it. She never seen me use. My son, he seen me use. He don't even hardly want to call unless he needs something. But it's a process. And it says staying clean must come first.
Yes,
it don't care what we use or how much we use. And it talks about here our inability to manage our own lives. You know, and it was a number of years. I got that sponsor, and thank God for sponsorship in Narcotics Anonymous. You know, I had a sponsor. I got one now that I've had for a number of years, but that first sponsor.
That's right.
That first sponsor became my manager. You know how a boxer might have a manager? He's got managers, Don King or somebody, telling him what to do. Basketball players, football players, they have these managers because they can play, but they can't make good decisions. Now that's why I got my sponsor, and he helped guiding me. He ain't tell me what to do, but he asked certain questions. Well, why would you do that? What's the consequences of that? I called my sponsor on the vacation. I said, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. He said, well, you know, she gonna listen to the boyfriend quicker than she listened to you. I don't care what you did for her. That's how it works. And so he gave me some insight. He didn't tell me do this, do that, but he gave me some questions that I needed to answer not to him, but to me. And so I didn't act out. I spent some social time with him, did some of the things. I wanted to bond with my daughter and show her some of the family members that she never even knew. And I got to do some of that. But I had to do some things and let them do some things so that they would be comfortable, you know. But that's all for step one, but it's not, because I'm powerless. It talks about in here, I'm not going to read the book, but there's some things. He says we do have a choice after we stop justifying our using. You know, I don't know how many of y'all did this, but I used to use just on the weekend when I was trying to.
Right.
And I didn't use this particular drug. I used another one. I didn't use this drug that way. I'm trying to manage that stuff. But I had to admit that I didn't have any control over my addiction. And I want to share this. What a blessing it is in Narcotics Anonymous to learn that I got a disease. And I'm not a terrible, bad person. I thought I would just, you know, like you were saying, I thought I was headed straight to hell or something. But the thing is, it talks about in step one how we're not responsible for our disease, but we're responsible for our recovery. And when I realized that I had a disease, then my self-esteem shot up. A disease that's not curable, but can be arrested a day at a time. So I started taking some suggestions here. Yeah, I'm right at it. He said we tried countless other remedies. The psychiatrist gave me a big ass pill that's gonna help me. You know what I mean? Didn't work. You know, they prayed, they did all that stuff. The only thing worked for me, and I'm not saying Narcotics Anonymous, the only thing worked for anybody, but the only thing worked for me was coming to Narcotics Anonymous. Doctor, you know, I don't have the desire. My higher power removed that desire to use. You know, after I got celebrated length of time clean, I called that ex-wife. I say, you see, they told me that I was 10 years clean. They said that you wouldn't. I'll never get clean. You might well leave me now. That's what she did. And I said, well, you see, I got 10 years clean. She was a pretty smart lady. She said, well, I guess not. You fucked up everything. If you did, you had to be a goddamn fool. See, what is a big deal to me is normal for people. Oh, I stayed clean. I mean, it's a blessing and it's a great accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. But what she was saying, I'd have to really be pretty foolish to go back out after everything I worked for 25 years gone. What am I going to do? I was a fool one time. What am I going to go back and do it again? You know? So I didn't know none of that till I got with this first step. And it talked about here the disease of addiction being progressive, incurable, and fatal. You know, meaning that it's going to keep getting worse and worse as long as I keep using. And it's no cure for this disease until the final event. You know, but it can be arrested a day at a time. Another concept in here is the denial, like I was before I got that phone call about you and Addicts. And I don't know if anybody had to deal with denial, but this is the only disease that will tell you ain't sick. That's something. They said you couldn't stop, and you done stopped 30 days. Look, man, please, don't listen to them. Well, you can just have one. Denial. And denial is not just about the drugs and the disease. I was in denial that my daughter was doing those things. But I started to get better Yeah, I got to keep coming back. I started to get better after I got past that denial. Another concept in this first step is surrender. You know, surrender means giving it up, throwing up the white flag. I give up, just like you saw the cowboy picture with General Custer. Now the Indians massacred him.
That's right.
All he had to do was take the white flag and surrender, and they would have took him prisoner. He would have lived a few more years. You know, he didn't surrender. You know, I've come along during the era of Muhammad Ali, and them jokers he'd knock them down, and they jump right back up. And I know the man said, "Just lay down there. Just lay down there. You're gonna still get the money." But surrender, But surrender is a concept that it helped me to stay clean a day at a time, and it helped me with the rest of my life. So there's some good stuff in narcotic in step 1. Talks about at the end of step 1. It don't really matter where you at. See, some of us come in here like me, everything gone. Some of us come in here still have their lives intact. Some got half of it. It doesn't matter. Some of us is this or that. It doesn't really matter where we're at. But it talks about in here, what matters is where we're going. So step 1 is like the foundation stone in building that big house. And so my sponsor told me this is the only step I really got to do thorough. And I got to do this step thorough. And I'll never forget it. I'm slow. I'm not as smart as some of y'all in here. And it took me a long time. And we in the old school, he used to get me right, and with a dictionary. So all those words I was just telling you about, I had to look them up and write the definition, and share with him that I understood the concept of those words. And then when I finished, I had pages. I thought I had something. Step 1. So we went out on a little fishing trip, and I did read my step 1 with him. And then we went fishing. All right, you know about that fishing. Then we come back to sit down, and I said, "See, I'm ready. I'm ready now for step 2." He said, "No, you ain't." He said, "Now you did a great job." He said, "But now what I want to see you do is live these steps, these principles in your life." Because I was still fighting to get that wife back. I was still fighting to get that job back. I was still fighting to regain some of those things. I had to really surrender all that stuff. So I had a lot. They could have took me and put me in a mental institution at that time, and that they would have been justified. It was only by a blessing that they did. Narcotics Anonymous, y'all saved me. And then we got to step 2. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And there's that word "we" again. See, that's the reassurance. See, I ain't got to do this by myself. We came to believe, and my sponsor's talking about, you was knocked out and you came to. He said you came to, and I slowly came to by coming to these meetings. I slowly, inch by inch, I came to, and came to believe that something greater than me. Didn't have to be called this God or that God. All I had to do was be greater than myself, loving and caring. And I remember going to a meeting. One guy said, "Well, my higher power is a cup." I said I didn't believe in too much of that, because I had a higher power, but it didn't make any difference what I believe. For him, it made difference in what I believe for me. So I believe that a power greater than myself could. It didn't say he was going to automatically make me all right, because I had to do some work. Could restore me to sanity. And restore is like I had a heart attack several years ago, and I had to do the rehab, everything, to come back to restore my health. Some people have these old antique cars. They do lots and lots of work on it to restore that car back to almost like it was, in some cases even better than it was. They restore front. So it is a job to restore me. But now when I got to the word sanity, I said, what do you mean sanity? All I did was just use some drugs. But when I looked that up, that means out of touch with reality. I must have been out of touch. I was obviously out of touch. Sometimes I still am. I'm carrying an umbrella and it ain't even raining. So that sanity piece is very important. A lot of people talk about they got obsessive and compulsive. That's a mental condition, brother and sister. You know, obsessive, compulsion. Once I start, then I just keep going and going and going and going and going and going. All the money gone. All the, you know, I remember I used to come home with the paycheck on Friday. I ain't come home with it. I got it. And I ain't gonna use the day. But for some reason, my car would not get to the house till I went by the dope boy first. And they seen me coming through. Until almost all that money, enough gas to get back home, was gone. Compulsion. Keep going and going. Once I start, once I get that first dish of ice cream, once I get that first piece of chicken, once I have an intimate relationship, all reason going out the window. Going and going and going. You know what I mean? Compulsion. Those are the symptoms of this disease I got. And then obsession. Now that is an interesting one. What do they call it? O&D disorder?
Yeah.
Something like that? O&D.
OCD.
OCD. Obsessive compulsive disorder. That's what I had. Sometimes I still got it. But the obsessive part, and that's something. I don't even have to have it with me. I don't have to have nothing. And I go to sleep. And here I'm having a dream about it. And I just can't stop thinking about it. Obsession. That mental returning back and back again to try, you know. So obsession and compulsion. It's talk about sanity. Out of touch. So what happened with the second step for me is I came to Narcotics Anonymous and I seen you people. It was some evidence. If Otis could stay clean, maybe I could stay clean. Right? If you could stay clean, I watched you. I said, well, maybe they come to the meeting every Tuesday night. When I come here, they be here early. So that was some evidence that this thing works. So slowly by slowly, you know, it talked about in the basic text how an addict is incapable of making wise decisions, but a lot of people forget the other part. On a consistent basis. See, that don't mean the rest of our life we're gonna be a bad decision maker. If I work on it, I can get better. You know, sanity slowly returns. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at with that step 2. It doesn't talk about God in step 2. It talks about a power greater, and I can use somebody else's power. I can use, as long as it's more greater than myself, not me, loving and caring, wanting the best for me. That power can help restore me to sanity. And then I was ready for step number 3. You know what that is. I don't really share about time, but
Actually,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking too much, see?
just about it.
And so the third step is I made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand. Y'all already got the hit Making a decision is not good enough just there. I got to act on it. Make a decision to turn it over. And turning over is a process.
That's right.
I made a decision to turn it over when I started with that step, but I took it back. So it's a process that I have to do almost every day, especially in the beginning of turning it over. I had to turn my daughter's situation over. She might be mad at me, I might be mad at her, but I can't take, I'm powerless. So anyway, and then talked about will in my life. And the will is my thoughts. How would my higher power want me to think? The disease of addiction is characterized by general negative ideas, attitudes, and behavior. I'm no good, this no good, that no good, job no good, this no, God, a higher power, God of my understanding, He don't go for that. And that's probably why I use so long. If I had a positive outlook, if I would say, well, what would my higher power think about this? I might be a little bit better off. And control those thoughts. I use affirmations. Keep me, my mind, because I wake up in the morning and I can go either way. I can say, oh God, it's morning. I can say, oh God, it's morning. It's a matter of my attitude. So I got to try to stay on a positive frame. And then my life is the actions. See, when I was stuck like Chuck. An impulsive action. As soon as I got a whiff of what I use, I had to go get it. As soon as I seen a vision of somebody physical form that I like, I had to act out. And so my thinking, that's why I couldn't make no sound decisions, because I didn't give myself a chance. My sponsor told me when I get ready to make a decision, talk to somebody, think, and then act. Get out of the impulse deal, and then I can make some better decisions. So I'm grateful that I can make some better decisions today. And finally, I'm about done, and I want to share one story, because like I said, it's a matter of perspective with the steps. Some of y'all probably heard the story. Once upon a time, it was 3 little pigs. And one little pig built his house out of sticks. Yeah. Oh, he hurried up and got that house built. And he was in the house, eating some pork chop. Then there was another little pig, he built his house out of wood. It took him a longer time. He had to nail and get the right wood, and nail and get the right wood. Then he went in, and he's sitting in his house eating him some barbecue. And there was one pig everybody laughed at. He built his house out of bricks. Took a long time for him to lay them bricks. Long time. They laughed. Long time for him to work them steps. Long time. Then finally he got his house built, and he's in the house in the rocking chair at the fireplace, having him a piece of bacon. And then finally, a little while, the big bad wolf of addiction, the big bad wolf of a loved one losing, break up in a relationship, the big bad wolf of losing that job, the big bad wolf of having a chronic illness came and huffed and he puffed. The big bad wolf of my home group not agreeing with me at the due conscience. He huffed and he puffed, and that pig that built that house out of sticks, he blew that house down and ate that pig right up. Pork chop and all. The next one, he went to the one that built the house on a stick, and he huffed and he puffed and he huffed and he puffed. Took a little bit longer. Blew that house down. He had to go out and relapse with that pork chop, making barbecue. But the house that the pig built out of brick, he had a strong foundation.
That's right.
How strong is your foundation? you want to set this thing long term, I've been around long term. Because I got a foundation, step 1, 2, and 3. My sponsor used to tell me every morning before you shower or shine, take 1, add on 2, couple it with 3. I got to live those 3 steps. Take 1, add 2, couple it with 3. In every area of my life. If I don't want something, that big bad wolf. And he huffed and he puffed and he huffed and he puffed, and he couldn't blew that house down.
That's right.
Because he had a strong foundation. I want to thank y'all for your attention and listening to me. I hope I share something that might help me. I hope it helped one person.
Yeah, that was awesome. Let's give Russell and Diane one more hand. Okay, that was awesome. So this is allotted till 12:15, so we have 18 more minutes. If anybody else would like to share, you want to just raise your hand, come on up and share on the topic.
I have a question for her. Just
What's your name?
I'm Tammy, I'm an addict.
Hey, Tammy.
To suggest that do, or sitting down writing, getting started, first step.
Do you have a sponsor?
Yes.
Then reading the book, the steps, and praying and talking to your sponsor, and doing what you're doing, asking people at meetings, how they went about doing it, and then, if you have that workbook, I don't know, some people use the
Step working
workbook,
guide.
some people don't use the workbook, and work your, writing. I think writing is a very good, it helps you process this stuff. And it helps it come out without having to worry about a filter.
Okay.
And then share it with your sponsor.
Get it back.
That's for sure. Keep coming back.
I'd like to
Yeah, come
Okay.
on.
come on.
Yeah, come
I
on.
want to share. Hello, family. My name is Kim, and I'm visiting from New York.
Hi, Kim.
Yeah, welcome.
And I'm really overwhelmed. It was such a great meeting. Thank you both. Thank you all for another day, giving me another day in recovery. I'm so grateful. I don't, when I'm in New York, I'm so busy. I just graduated, finally got my master's. I mean, so many good things have happened to me in recovery. And on the way down here, I wanted to I finally, decided to relax a little bit because I'm always doing something, I think my first addiction is workaholism, and but I shared that I don't get to have fun in recovery. And you come around it, it's about learning how to have fun, right? And I was told to go ahead. My friend was Massachusetts, he's in Massachusetts now, he wanted to come down. And he loves to make conventions all over the place, and I love to travel with him when I can. But I haven't been able to, in the last 6 years, right, do anything. So, anyway, they told me to go ahead, have fun. Just, because I'm saying maybe I should start the master's, the doctorate program, because it's getting ready to jump off, and I got to start preparing now, And, I didn't even want to go back to school, and I'm in school. It's like God I've allowed him to kind of lead my life. Anyway, make a long story short, my thing is I want to get out of New York because I'm sick of the weather, right? I'm getting too old for this shit now. It's a hustle, right? For me to get out and get around, it's a hustle. I mean, I'm just in my body, I'm always depressed because the energy is so low and it's cold for me and I'm anemic. And I was just showing, I have this.
I just moved here from New York.
Yeah.
A week before Thanksgiving. Yeah, and I'm 58, girl. I love it.
Enough, right?
I love it.
Listen, we just dodged the snow out there. It was trying to
Yes.
follow us, trying to lock us in before we could get out. And I'm like, get out of here. My friend and I were discussing like where would be the best place to move, because it looks like I'm about to be downsized in New York and I don't know where to go. I've been here all my life.
Grace in Georgia.
But I was coming down here thinking the weather was gonna be, I mean, I almost packed a bathing suit. You know? Really, I was like, really looking for, and my friend tells me, no, he's going through all the places that I might like to live. And looking at the weather for the week. And the only thing that really struck my fancy was Hawaii.
There you go.
But I didn't know how to get there. Oh, Hawaii, I mean, Hawaii. And we had just mentioned, like, well, who knows? Maybe somebody from Hawaii will be at the convention. You know? And I'm not kidding you. And I know that's how my God works. And when you opened up and somebody said, aloha, and you said, I was like, aloha. Oh my God, I am so grateful. So I just want you to know, I sat there the first 20 minutes in tears, full. Because you, as I said to him, right, you never know who's going to be at a convention, right? So praise God, I could get on my knees and kiss the ground, you know, because my God always makes a way for me to get the insight. When I show up at a meeting, I'm not kidding you, my whole life just opens up. I don't care if it's what I want to do for the next minute. Do I want to get into a business? Do I want to travel? Whatever it is, if I make a meeting first, I get all my answers. So I thank God for you. I thank God for all of you. I thank God for you. I thank God that He allowed me to just get away just for today. So I want to say, if you knew, I mean, the awesomeness of this fellowship, of this program, period, you know, just keep showing up no matter what. Because if it was up to me, my life is already over, you know, in my head, right? Because that's my thinking. Well, you did all this stuff and you're too old, it's over, you know? But in this program, you get a renewed life, renewed thoughts, like you were talking about, shifts in perspective, you know? And I'm so grateful for that. The small things. This program works. Just keep coming back, and thank you guys for allowing me to share.
Thank you.
And I must get your number, please. Diane, you are truly a blessing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
I'm Denise, so blessed for coming at it.
Hey, Denise.
Family, you know, I'm truly grateful for Narcotics Anonymous, man. You know, a message of hope, man. You know what I'm saying? That an addict, any addict, this addict can stop using drugs. I stay here long enough to lose the obsession till you find a new way to live. One promise, freedom. Boy, I couldn't stop using to save my own life. Freedom from active addiction. You know, you talk about the first 3 steps, man, like foundation. No. Like, you know, my sponsor, you know, sponsorship is just, like, she made me pay attention to words. Like, you know, you said weed, that's the first word, you know what I'm saying? Because left to my own power, I couldn't stop using to save my own life. Until I came to Narcotics Anonymous, man. And Diana was sharing, like, I knew something was wrong, man. Like, everybody don't stay up 4-5 days in a row. You know what I'm saying? Don't wash your ass, don't eat, don't do. Normal people don't do that. Something wrong. Knew something was wrong long before I came in here and admitted something was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, you know, all the other kids, they go on to class. I'm out there smoking weed. With a couple of us. The majority go on to class. Like, something wrong with that picture. So, like, I'm real grateful, man. Like, when I finally came here, man, like, it took the end of the road for this addict to admit complete defeat. Like, paranoia and fear setting. Then I became willing to ask for help. Boy, that's my story right now. Talking about powerlessness, I'm mad. Talking about your life jacked the fuck up. Yes, that's me. All day. But it took what it took, you know, because like until I can admit complete defeat, ain't that gonna happen.
That's right.
Ain't that gonna happen. I'm real grateful, man, that my story, man, when it came to the end, my story showed me, man, the insanity and the powerlessness and the unmanageability, the horrors of addiction. Trying the shit I did to get one more. Nobody in their right mind would do that stuff. When you're in your right mind, man, you don't do the kind of things we did, I did to get one more, man. You just don't do it. You just don't do it. And so, like, you know, coming around and having a few 24 hours and doing some step work, you know what I'm saying? Like, I still got to understand that I'm powerless over some stuff and my life can get jacked up at any given time. Because I want to fix, manage, and control. You know what I'm saying? So it does shift, your perspective shift, but it's the same concept. Same concept. You know, and then, you know, being of soundness of mind, man, I need to stay sane, man. I need my sanity restored on any given day. In the beginning, it was going to a meeting. They talk about that in the how and why, what sameness is. You know, coming to a meeting, you know, calling your sponsor, you know, this and that and other. You know, talk about what that sanity is. You know, soundness of mind, making good decisions, making better decisions. You know, informed decisions. Because I don't impulse. I call somebody, stop, that might not be a good damn idea to me. You need to, that's shit crazy right there. You need to call somebody. You need to share that in a meeting. Because my best thinking, let's just say my best thinking, my best effort. So here go that third step. Because left to my best, no, you got to turn that, let somebody else think for you. You better let somebody else think for you, Denise. You better let somebody else think for you. Can't believe, man. And then turning that over to hey, whatever you want to call it. That's the beauty of Narcotics Anonymous. God of your own understanding. And this said to the care. Like, turn it over to the care of. It ain't say, I become a robot, I become perfect, I turn it all over, I can't, oh my God, I can't do that. Why not? Because I already see what I do. By myself, I already see where that got me. It went over to the care of, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, the care of the dope man. The care of the trick, the care of, well damn, why not turn over something that got my best interest in? Man, like make the decision, and in the way that I live, it shows that I done made that decision. Well, I don't think the same, I don't act the damn same. You know? And so man, I'm real grateful for the cornerstone of my recovery. Because I'm going to need that to go on with the rest of them. Woo, them other 9, baby. Woo, boy. Woo, them other 9, man. Them other 9. Yeah. You ain't got 1, 2, and 3 down. You in the world of trouble. Boy, the rest of them going to give you hell. So I'm real grateful, man. I thank y'all so much for sharing, man. That's my sis. And brother, you David, man. You know, that's the miracle and the blessing of this thing, man. You get different perspective, but you hear the same, you know what I'm saying, man? Y'all said the same thing, just in y'all own different, you know, man. So I'm real grateful, man. 1, 2, and 3, that's the foundation. You can do them right. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they go, boy, they gonna get you hell. They gonna get you hell. So, you know, I'm gonna keep coming. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for sharing. All right. Nice. All right. Yeah, I think so. Well, let's see. Give yourself a hand for a good meeting, you guys. Yeah, thanks. All right. We'll circle up and we'll close with the serenity prayer. You like that?
Yeah.
The 4 agreements. Oh. Stay. Okay.